It's Sue from Snake River Stamping. Thank you for coming today. I hope I hope you liked the couple of cute cards I have for you today. We're going to do one fall card and one Christmas card today. And at the end, I have a special Save You Some Money offer. So please stay with me till the end and see how you can save some money with Stampin' Up. Okay, I'm going to flip us down and I'm going to get started. On Monday I talked about all my specials and blah 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 blah, so we will dispense with that. Okay, this is the first card. We're going to make the autumn card, and if you can see, we're using some metallic foil with this card today, and let's see, it's called, I remember, Earthen Toned Metallic Specialty Paper, and it comes in 12 by 12 sheets. You get 3 12 by 12 sheets of this beautiful paper, and I cut it using the Amber Autumn set, and I used this big leaf die, and I've talked about this a couple times, especially these detailed dies. If they're not cutting as well as you like them to, get some wax paper, crumple it up, and rub it over your die a few times. And last night I did that, and this literally, they fell out, the little pieces fell out, and it was just super easy to get my die configured on that. So we have you need a piece of, well, let me start with the card base. Let me start with what comes first, okay? I should go in order. I do have this typed up for you, and I'll show you as soon as I'm done with the card. But if you like to write things down as we go, the card base is Early Espresso, 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. This is a basic tent fold card like that. Okay. Then we have this piece of the earthen tone metallic specialty paper, and I didn't put the sticky note on the front because the metallic paper tends to pick things up really easy. I got a little smudge on this one. This earthen toned metallic specialty paper is 4 by 5 1/4. And behind the metallic paper, I put some Mossy Meadow, and I cut this just a smidge, one line smaller on my paper trimmer. And I know I'm using 1/16 of an inch, which, you know, you're probably shaking your head and going, I don't do 1/16. Well, I don't usually do 1/16 either, but it's really not that hard. It's because the earthen toned paper is 4 by 5 1/4. Okay, 4 by 5 1/4 for the earthen toned paper. So I made this just a smidge smaller because it's going to go underneath, and I definitely don't want it to show. So by doing the 4, you just go one line closer or less than 4, and that's a 1/16 of an inch. If you can see that, I don't know, you probably can't see that, but between 3 and 4, these are 1/16 of an inch. All those little marks, you know. So the 1/16 is just that line, one line right below the 4. And so when I say 3 15 and 16, I just want you to cut off that 1/16 of an inch. And going the other way also, 5 3/16 instead of 5 1/4. And it's just one line below the 4th mark. And that's so, you gotta hold it, yeah. Traditional labels, this is traditional labels. And I cut it with this largest one right here in the middle, and I already cut that label for us right here out of basic beige. It's about 4 1/4 by 3. Okay, to do that. All right, but I already cut it. So I wanted to show you. Now sometimes when I cut an intricate die like this, I might put adhesive sheets on the back and cut it. But today I'm just going to glue it, and I'm going to let the glue sit for a little while we color the acorns. Now you want to definitely, there it goes. You definitely want to touch dots all the way around your edges, and then a little bit in the middle on the larger parts. You don't need to touch every single part, but you definitely want to get those edges. And then I'm going to pick some larger pieces, you know, or maybe a tip where I think it might need to hold. And I am doing this on a silicone mat, which is one of my free offers this month. Check out my Monday video. Okay, so I just put some glue dots on here. Okay, and I'm going to set this to the side because I want it to dry to tacky. I mean, it could dry for an hour and still be able to glue down. I'm not going to wait that long, but I'm just going to wait as long as it takes us, because I don't want it squishing out on the metallic part at all, because that doesn't work well. Metallic paper and glue do not mix. You cannot get it off. Okay, so we're gonna stamp on this, and we're gonna color and cut some little acorns. Now I used, out of my stamp set, I used Autumn Wishes on here in Early Espresso, and I was looking, I just got my paper pumpkin last week, and I was looking, and it has wishing you the happiest of days, and I just, for something different, because I've been using Autumn Wishes like all week, or the last couple of weeks, and I was thinking, you know, maybe Autumn Wishes might be kind of nice to do on this. And I can get Autumn Wishes over here on the left and still have room for my, excuse me, my acorns that we're going to color and cut. And I do have a little bit different coloring technique to show you today. So I'm going to stamp this up and practice a couple times with my autumn, or my wishing you happiest day. That looks good. Okay. And I am using my Stampin' Pierce mat because these are photopolymer stamps. Great. Wishing you the happiest of days. That's nice. Nice font. I like the font. Let's stick this over here. I'll clean this later. And then I put this on my, this is a 3x3 block, and I stamped that for us already on this piece of 3x4.5 paper. And I'm just going to set this to the side. And I stamped this in Early Espresso too. So my coloring technique today, I am going to bring in, these things are linked in my description. I'm going to bring in, let's see, light old olive and light mossy meadow for the leaves. And I'm going to bring in some pumpkin pie and some crumb cake for my acorns. And then I'm going to bring in some colored pencils. And that's where the new technique comes in about coloring. So I usually start with my dark and I trace what I want. And I'm looking at what the artist that designed this, maybe outlining, coloring in some. I'm not going to do all of this because I've already got one done for you. But I'm going to show you the technique of this leaf. So I'm going to just do that with my dark. And then I'm going to come in with my light, Old Olive, and I'm going to use my brush tip, and I'm going to go over it. I'm going to go over all of it because I'm trying to drag some of that dark into my light. And I'm just going right over it. Okay. And I wouldn't be real careful because this next piece is a leaf too. And then I'm going to grab, and this is Old Olive, and this is a watercolor pencil, but I'm not going to use it as a watercolor pencil. I'm just going to use it as a colored pencil because it's going to, I'm going to go right on top of it, and it's going to kind of blend and soften the colors kind of in a nice way. It's probably hard to see on the camera, but I'll hold it closer. But it does give a different effect, coloring and blending. Let me hold that closer. It does give a different effect, kind of, it blends it kind of better. I'm going to take my dark pecan pie and I'm going to put some dots. There's little circles on my acorns. I'm not coloring all those in. I'm just going to put some little dots on there, and I'm going to go over that with dark crumb cake, probably with the brush tip. And I'm going to use a colored pencil on this too in just a second. Okay. And I'm going to use light pecan pie, light pecan pie. And I'm going to go over the dark parts and where I want it to be shaded. And then I'm going to use my dark crumb cake to go over that. And then I'm going to take my early espresso watercolor pencil, and I'm going to go over that. And that watercolor pencil is going to blend even more. And you notice I left a little bit of white there. Well, I'm going over that with a pencil, and it's going to color it just a lighter color. And I'm going to color the rest of the top of my acorn, pecan pie, acorn, you know. And I'm going to do my branch with the pencil, and I get kind of a nice effect with the watercolor pencils on top of the alcohol markers. So I did one and I cut it out for us, and it's got the watercolor marker on top of the alcohol markers, okay, so that I can attach this to my card. So now this is probably pretty good and tacky. So I am going to take my Mossy Meadow layer that goes underneath the metallic. Remember, it's just a 1/16 of an inch smaller, which is going to be a 32nd of an inch smaller on each side. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to try to carefully not get my hands, because this isn't going to fit. It's going to be, this is smaller than the metallic, so it shouldn't show. Right, there we go. Let me show you the back. So you can still see the white a little bit. And it's not even, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be even. It just has to be, so it doesn't show on the edges and it doesn't show on the inside. And so that works perfectly to cover it that way, with just slightly smaller. Okay. And I'm going to put this down and I'm going to glue it down because this is pretty thick and I'm going to pop up the other stuff. So I'm just going to glue this down. I should probably take off my sticky. But I just love this earthen toned for the fall. It is nice and shiny, and it just really is striking. I center that on the early espresso, and you can barely see it, but you can. I mean, you can, because the Mossy Meadow and the earthen tone, you know, it all kind of blends nicely together. So then I'm going to take my Wishing You the Happiest of Days. I just love that. It's so nice. I was glad to get that paper pumpkin kit because it had some other things in I want to use today too that coordinate with this set. I'm going to pop this up. Oh, I guess that one's going to be right there. That one's going to be right there. Right there. Right there. Right there. We just have an extra one there. Kind of fell on there, but you know, gotta roll with it. I don't know about you guys, but here in southeastern Washington, you know, it's definitely getting to be fall. And in the morning, I got up this morning, it was like 51 degrees, so I'm using my little space heater in here because this room is kind of, it doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't cool, doesn't heat exactly the way I want it to. So in the morning I'm using the space heater. In the afternoon I'm using my fan because I'm hot. You know, you can't apparently make me happy. So I am going to place this like this. I'm going to have a dimensional under this because this is dimensionalized. So dimensional over here, but I'm going to put glue on my acorns and a little bit on my leaf because it's going to sit on top of what's already dimensionalized. I want to place these just right so they fit around my words like that. Then I have these streak dots that are really pretty, kind of early espresso. Remember to slide your dots off so you keep the sticky stuff on the back of them. Move, move, move. There we go. Okay, so I got some dots on there. Okay, so I've got that. And now my inside. And I can put on the inside. I think it was the blessing thing. Yeah, blessed to have you in my life. And that was from Amber Autumn. Blessed to have you in my life. And I'm going to go back to my 3x3. I got this far without needing a baby wipe. That's pretty amazing. But I better get one right now. So I'm going to use early espresso again. I'm going to put that down here. Okay. And in this paper pumpkin, they have these two cute little acorns. So I have acorns on the front. So I'm going to steal these from my paper pumpkin. I'm going to put it on my tiny little block. And I'm going to put those right over here. And I just need some tape. I like to tape the inside. Now, I'll tell you, Basic Beige is one of those colors, one of those papers. All cardstock is not the same. And Basic Beige is a very soft paper, and sometimes using Stampin' Seal Plus will tear it very easily. So be careful if you're using that. So just blessed to have you in my life. Wishing you the happiest of days. Isn't that pretty? I just love, love, love that metallic paper. And that intricate die with the leaves. It's just, I think it's beautiful. I think the colored pencils added a lot to this particular card. I have set this to the side, move 9 or 10 things here. You have you take a screenshot. These were just a little bit different because I used different sentiments. This sentiment was from the set, Amber Autumn, and the other one sentiment was from my paper pumpkin. And take a screenshot of the early espresso was a tent fold 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. Some basic white to cut out your focal point. Some Mossy Meadow that was just a tiny bit smaller than the earthen toned metallic foil, which was 5 1/4. So I just made these into 16ths, 3 15/16, and 5 3/16. Just think to yourself, you can cut it 4 by 5 1/4 and then just shave off a little bit. Basic Beige for a sentiment, Basic Beige for the inside, some streak dots if you would like those. I forgot to put them on that one. To add for an embellishment if you would like. So that's our first card. A nice fall card. So now we're going to do a nice little Christmas card. And this one I cased right out of is Elegant Pines and Snowflakes. That's where this came from. In the background it looks black, but it's Secret Sea. It's almost black, yeah, but it's Secret Sea. Then I need a scrap of, I don't even need this big of a scrap. I need like this much scrap of pine, seriously, because all I'm going to do is stamp some pine cones. That's literally how much scrap of pecan pie I need. When I say scrap of pine, just grab the scrap. Old olive, we're going to stamp and die cut some pine boughs and some pine branches. So about 4 by 5 1/4 will work for to stamp and cut all that stuff. You need a shaded spruce layer that's going to go underneath our DSP, and that's at 5 1/4 by 4, so just a little bit bigger than this one. You need a scrap of basic white for sentiment. Your inside 3 3/4 by 5. Okay. So one of the things we're going to do to make this a little more interesting, we're going to glue this together, and then I embossed it. And you can't totally see the embossing on camera, but the person receiving this card will definitely be able to feel it and see it in person, and it looks really good. I used, well, on this card, the one I made as a sample, I used the traditional Wreath 3D embossing folder, and you only get part of it on there because it's a really big embossing folder, really big, and it doesn't, the whole thing doesn't fit on the card, so you get kind of most of half of it. So I like that, but I decided to go with Forever Plaid on this one, and I've used that before, and you've probably seen that Forever Plaid one, and that's what we're going to use today. So all you do is you glue this on and leave it on for a little while. Let it dry for, 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, just like that, because it's going to go on the Secret C. All right. So what I did is I already embossed it. I glued it together and I embossed it. You can see the embossing on the back. This is the debossed side. This is the embossed side. So I already embossed that because I didn't want to wait the 3 to 5 minutes because I'm impatient. So before I can glue this on, though, I need to take this beautiful ribbon. This is shaded spruce with shaded spruce gold edged ribbon. I have it linked, and it's just, oh, it's gorgeous. That beautiful shaded spruce color. So before you put this on, whether you're going to put it on dimensionals or you're going to glue it on or whatever, you need to put the ribbon on first, and then you need to put the little decorations on that we're going to make. So this is maybe 6 inches of ribbon, because this is a little over 5 1/4, or about 5 1/4. So this one's just going to go straight across, and I didn't put it right in the middle. I put it just a little bit higher than the middle. You can tape it on, you can use glue dots to put it on, whatever you would like to put it on. I'm going to put a glue dot here. Hopefully I'm going to put a glue dot there. Yep. This is soft paper too. And let me tear this off. Make it a little easier. And I'm going to put a glue dot on this one. I'll put it on the ribbon and rub it on there. Oh, it's sticking. Sometimes you have to kind of get it off of there. Okay, there it is, sticking to my finger very nicely. So let me get this one on the side. And if that doesn't work, tape always works. And I want to make sure this is straight. Okay, now the next piece is maybe 10 inches because I am going to tie a knot. But I'm going to leave this on the spool. So I'm going to approximate that this is 10 inches. Because it has to go around the card and have enough for some tails. just tie a knot and pull that firmly. Then cut it off at an angle with your ribbon scissors. That's all I'm wasting because I did it on the spool. So then I take it off my spool, and let's see, I want that. I'm not cutting it right in the middle, a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to put that at a little bit towards the left. So I'm going to get more of my handy dandy little glue dots, and I'm going to cut those off this time because that works better for me. And I'm going to put the short side on first. Rub that down. Of course, those are glue dots sticking to the paper. It's harder to stick to the ribbon. Okay, I'm going to put the ribbon on first, the top part. See, I want this right there. Yeah. See, I want that to hit right in the middle of that. So now I can put my other glue dot down here, and I'm rubbing it. Use my scissor, the end of my scissor, my fingernail, whatever. Try to get that glue dot to unstick from the paper. They're made to stick on paper, not ribbon very well, but they are effective once you get them on there. And so I have that all glued. Those are all glued down with glue dots, and they'll stay as good as I want them to. Okay, so that is basically what I want. And now I'm going to be stamping and cutting these, my pine cones, some little branches. So that is what my old olive is for, because there's old olive in this paper. I didn't want to use more shaded spruce. I thought it had enough shaded spruce on there and enough Secret Sea, the darker colors. I wanted a little bit lighter color to do that. So I'm going to, this is from the stamp set. Delicate Pines. Yep, this is from Delicate Pines. So I'm going to use this funny looking little pine thing. I'm going to cut those out. I am going to stamp and cut out the boughs, and that one looks like this. Okay, and I took my boughs out of here, and I took my pine cone out of here, my little pine cone. There's actually two pine cones, big pine cone, little pine cone. I just used the little pine cone out of the Delicate Pines. So what I do is I find my, there it is. Okay. This will work better on a bigger block. Now I'm going to stamp old olive on old olive, and it's going to look fine. You'd think, oh, you're not going to be able to see that. No, you're going to be able to see it. Okay, and I'm going to stamp old olive on old olive, and you can see that that's really good. Okay, so when I run this through, which I've already done, my acorns over here to be cleaned. I'm going to run through these two things at one time. I'm going to be able to do my double-edged pine boughs and these pine boughs all at once, okay? And what I come up with is these pine boughs, and this is old olive and old olive, and I come up with this pine bough, which I'm going to cut in half because I want to use it in 2 different places. So I just cut those out, okay? Easy peasy. Then I took my scrap of pecan pie, and again, I'm gonna stamp pecan pie on pecan pie, and I'm gonna make a couple different little pine cones, and there's a little pine cone die. Whoops, that didn't stamp good. There we go. I'm gonna just cut those out, which I did. Little pine cones. So now I just need to start putting these onto my card base. Maybe I'll get some of these extra card bases out of the way. And this extra pine bough and these extra pine cones, those are for later. Okay. This is my sentiment scrap. I'm going to do that in just a minute. And I'm going to do that in real red. Did I pull real red? That's up here. Okay. All right. So I put one pine bough under here. Another one I put down here. And I kind of let it drip onto the ribbon a little bit. And then I took these little pine things and I'm going to put them in here, and I'm going to cover them up with my pine cones. And put some pine cones in here to cover these up like that. Okay, so I'm going to start gluing this stuff down, and we'll get this finished. This one goes underneath. Remember to keep it on the card. And you can go a little bit outside this card because we haven't put it down on the card base yet. And this pine bough is going to stick right there. I have a pine cone over that. This pine bough, I'm just putting some glue on the ends of it. I'm not really putting glue on all those little tiny branches. I'm letting those stick up. Oh, I think I did 3 pine cones in this one. Didn't notice that when I was cutting. Tweezers. Okay, one there. And one's going to have to cover up that other one. And then I should have a third one there, but I forgot to cut one. So we'll pretend that there's another one on the other side. Okay, I definitely did Wink of Stella. squeeze out just a little bit. I have a new one. Haven't opened it yet. I'm going to wink Estella up my pine cones so they look like they have a little frost on them, and maybe a little bit on my pine boughs. Okay. My sentiment, I put celebrate the season, and I cut that straight on this scrap. So I'm going to try to, I did a good job on them when I practiced. So I'm grabbing that out of Delicate Pines. They have Celebrate the Season. No. Oh, there it is. Celebrate the Season. Hard to read backwards sometimes. And I definitely need my longer what did I do with that? I don't know. I have a longer block that is better for words than this one. This one's harder to get straight. But apparently, my longer block is right there. My gosh. You guys are probably yelling at me. Okay. This is the H block, I think. I love this block. And I'm going to bring back in my Stampin' Pierce mats. And I'm going to really try hard to get this straight. I'm putting all my stamps. Dang it. Stuck my finger in the red. And red is one of those colors that really shows up. Okay. Okay. Caught that edge, which I would cut off. So I'm trying to stamp, I'm sorry if my head's in the way, I'm trying to stamp this straight as I can so I can cut it as straight as I can. Terrible. Try it at the bottom. Much better. Okay, straight. The print looks a lot better. That's what I needed. Okay. So now all I did was I brought in my trimmer, and I am just going to trim that off straight. How many? I just look at this to guess how much it is. And I cut this at an angle and just snipped it. And it depends on how much of this needs to go under here. I need that to be shorter. And I have ink on my thumbnail again. So I want this to be kind of under here, but kind of peeking out. I think it's going to go up there because I do want it to peek out a little bit. And so I just squiggle some glue down the middle, because I don't want it to come out. I'm going to lift this up, put my celebrate the season right there. And that's going to cover up a little bit with the branch, a little bit with the ribbon, all the things. I think I don't like that over there anymore. No, that's not as tight as I want it to be. I'm going to tighten that up. That's better. Okay. Now, dimensionals. Dimensionals, dimensionals, dimensionals. I'm going to grab my crazy leftover parts and pieces here. I'm going to put some right over that ribbon. These are just pieces and parts I've trimmed off the edges because I like to use every single little bit of my dimensionals. Okay. I'm going to put one on that side. Well, I can put it there. Okay. All right. It looks like plenty of dimensional pieces. So this card base is all done. And this goes landscape, centering it on my secret C, all my dimensionals. Gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. Look at that. Now my inside, remember, was 3 3/4 by 5. What did I do on the inside here? I did nothing, absolutely nothing. Well, that's interesting. So now we can look at my old ones. Traditional labels, we can put a nice Merry Christmas in there. Oh, I know which one we should use. We should use, I love this one, because I think we have room for it. We can use my big Merry Christmas. I think that'll fit. Yep, this will fit. This will fit. This is my big Merry Christmas. That's all it is in this stamp set. It's just Merry Christmas. And it says Merry Christmas. Now this is not linked because I didn't know I was going to use it. It's 165831. Okay, I love this stamp. And I need a huge block for this. I need a huge block for this. If I put it on there straighter, that would be better. So I'm going to do in red. I could do Secret C, I could do Garden Green, but I stamped that in the real red. So if I have a really big one like this, I just put it upside down and I stamp. I use the ink pad upside down and I stamp it like that. And this is heavy in my hand. So I'm going to get this as straight as possible. I think I'm going to have to take this off. I like to have a paper on there because sometimes I get off, but I want to be able to see it and try to get it straight and centered. And I'm going to use my rubbing tool to make sure I get all of it. There we go. Merry Christmas. That is gorgeous. That looks really nice in there. Okay. So white paper's not so picky. It's a little stronger with the Stampin' Seal, so I don't have to worry about it as much as I do soft colors like the basic beige and the crumb cake. Those seem to be softer papers and will tear more easily. I don't know why. Okay, so Merry Christmas. Celebrate the season. All right, I love it. I hope you love it. Let me give you the directions and tell you my fantabulous financial offers that Stampin' Up! Is offering you right now. So, a little bit Christmas. Measurements for card number 2 that we did. The card stock. Here are the cards. You can take a screenshot. You can stop the video. You can re-watch it. Remember, on Facebook it's only good for 30 days, but on YouTube it's good forever and ever. So I started with Secret C, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.5, and I did landscape. Basic white, 3 3/4 by 5 for the inside, 2.5 by 4 for the sentiment. Of course, you didn't need that much. That was in case you made a mistake like I did, so you had plenty of room to stamp it on the bottom. You had 4 chances, 2 sides, top and bottom. You know, you ought to get it at one of those, right? Shaded Spruce was 5 1/4 by 4 for layer number 1. That was underneath the cardstock. Old Olive, 4 by 5 to cut the pine boughs and the pine branches. All these little doodads that we did to decorate. Pecan Pie, very small piece to cut 2. Make that, it looks better with 3 pine cones. It really does. I think this looks better with 3 pine cones. Designer Series paper, Elegant Pine Snowflakes, and I used the Secret C pattern. And there's several different patterns in there, but that's the one I used. Embellishments, Shaded Spruce Gold Trim. You needed about 6 inches to go this way, excuse me, 6 inches. And for this one, about 10 inches because you're going to tie a knot, and that takes a little bit more to do it, to tie the knot. And faceted snowflakes. Oh, I forgot faceted snowflakes. These are faceted snowflakes. And you can just sprinkle these liberally wherever you would like. If I can get them out of the package. So they have clear, they have, I think what's supposed to be Shaded Spruce, but it's kind of a blue, and they have red. And so I went through and I took a little bit of the clear, put these, and a little bit of the red, and I just kind of sprinkled them around on the paper wherever you would like. I mean, you can put them however you like. So, faceted snowflakes. You see those? You can see your little pine boughs sticking out. Lightened up the dark paper. I think it's a really pretty paper. Okay, now for my, everybody got a screenshot? Okay, now for my big announcements. So, Stampin' Up! Is having a joining special next month, starting October 1st. Okay, it is literally the best joining special they have ever had their whole 30-some years in business. Okay, so it's starting October 1st and it goes to October 31st. Now, joining Stampin' Up! Do you have to be a demonstrator? No, you do not. You can just be a savvy shopper, okay, and get the discount. So they have 2 offers for you this month, and you pick the one that works for you. Now their usual offer is you pay $99 and you get $125 of product of your choice. You go in and you pick out $125. They pay the shipping. Of course, you have to pay taxes. You earn your Stampin' Rewards on the $99. Okay. But right now, you can pay your $99 and get $189 in product. So that's considerably more. That's $90 in free product. $90. That's a lot. If that does not fit into your budget, okay, then their second offer is getting that $125, which is their normal free product offer. And again, you pick the product for $35. $35, you get $125 in product. So again, that's another $90 in product for free. Okay, but it is at a lower threshold for what you're paying. You have to pay taxes, but you don't pay shipping on this particular order. That doesn't mean forever. It just means this order. You don't pay shipping. They throw in 1 free paper pumpkin box. That's a past paper pumpkin box, and who knows what you get. I mean, it just depends. But it is a screaming deal. You can, take it and run with it. You can do whatever you want. You will never receive any pressure from me to do anything but be this savvy shopper, with one of these orders. And you can stay in the program as long as you like. You can get out whenever you like. There's no pressure on you, but you are getting $90 in free product whichever way you go. You get more for this, of course. It costs a little more, but either price threshold, paying $99, getting $189 in product, all of which you pick, every single bit of it, or pay $35 and get the $125 in product. Both of these deals are, in my opinion, screaming deals. Really worth the money. If you're spending $35 a month, which many of you are, why not join? And I would love it if you would pick me to sign up under, and I will help you with whatever you need. And you can, like I said, be a savvy shopper. You can start your own business, do whatever you want, whatever makes you happy. But saving money, I think, is always a great thing. That's how I started. I wanted to save money on everything I was purchasing. And from then on, you get, as long as you stay in the program, you get a 20% discount on top of any sales they have. So like last week when they had that paper sale for 15% off, you get your 15% off right off the top because that's on sale, and then you get another 20% off of that because you have joined Stampin' Up. And so that, I don't know, that's pretty good too. That's an ongoing thing, that you get. So I hope you'll consider it, think about it. It starts October 1st, so you have some time to think about it, and I will be promoting this again and reminding you about it. But this came out on Tuesday. I think this dropped in our emails about this. So hope you consider that. Let me turn this up. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for doing the cards. I hope you try these cards. I hope you try that earthen toned metallic paper. I love it. It is so pretty. The one I did, the Christmas one, out of the well, I can never get this right. Out of the there we go. Right is left and left is right on the camera. I have to remember that. This one was just cased right out of the catalog. Well, not the catalog, but the online exclusives. So, look in those look in those catalogs, look in the online exclusives to get ideas. It's a really great thing to do. So thank you for joining me today. I know this has gone long enough, and I will see you next Monday at 9. Thanks.